The procedure below is intended to display the index in a list of unique names where a particular name, target name, is found. If target name is not found in the name list, the code should display 0. So we have this procedure here that's gonna display the index, meaning what place in the list of names does the target name is where target name is located. If target name is not in the list, then it should just display 0. So, but there's a problem with this code, and we need to find out which of the following procedures can be used to demonstrate that the procedure does not work as intended. So let's look at this code and try to find the flaw in the logic. So if we have procedure find name that takes name list, the list of names, and the target name, the name we want to find, as parameters. We set a variable index to 0 initially. And then we have this for each loop where for each name in name list, so we're going to repeat whatever's inside these curly braces for every name in name list. So name is just going to record the current name we're in name list. And we're going to add 1 to the index. So we're going to set index equal to index plus 1. So this is just going to be getting the value of index, adding 1 to it, and setting that equal to index, and assigning that to the value index. And then we have this conditional statement here, this if statement. So if name, which is the current name we're on in name list, and we're going to check if it is equal to the name we're looking for. So, and if that name is equal to the name we're looking for, found index, this new variable, which is going to be what we're going to display at the end, is going to be assigned to the value of index, the current index we're on. So say we have a list of names like Bob, Jack, Mary, and we're looking for the name Jack. The way this code works is we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to check if Bob equals Jack. And since Bob doesn't equal Jack, this if statement will be not true, and we're going to go to the else statement and set found index equal to 0. And then we're going to move on to the next element, and we're going to check if Jack equals Jack. And since it does, that means this if statement will return true and set found index equal to index. And then we're going to move on to the next element, since we're going to do this for every name in name list. So we're going to, for every name, for every element in name list, we're going to repeat this piece of code here once. And when we get to Mary, remember we already found Jack, but we still have to go through every name. We're going to get to Mary and run this if statement. We're going to see that Mary is not equal to Jack. So that means we're going to run the else statement, which sets found index equal to 0. Now that's the problem. Thing is, we found the name we're looking for on Jack, but since we still have to go through all of the names, when we get to Mary, the if else statement is false here. The if is false, so that means the else sets found index to 0. But the thing is, we only want found index to be 0 when the target name is not in the list, but the target name is in the list. So that means that when the target name is in the middle of the list, meaning it's not at the end, and there are elements after the target element that are not equal to the target element, meaning every name after Jack isn't Jack, it's some other name, we're going to be setting found index equal to 0, even though the target name is in the list. So that means that when we have a list of names where the target name is not the last element, this code is not going to work as intended. So if you look at answer choice A, we're going to have a list of Andrea and Ben, and we're going to be looking for Ben. In this case, since Ben is the target element and Ben is the last element of the list, this is going to work as intended, because we're not going to have a chance to set found index equal to 0, because the last element is going to set found index equal to that index. B says find name when the list is Andrea and Ben, and we're looking for Diane. Since the Diane is never in the list, that means this if statement will never be true. So we're never going to set found index equal to found index, or found index equal to index. So that means we're always just going to set found index equal to 0, and that's the proper thing to do in this case, because when target name, so in this case Diane, is not in the list, the code should display 0. C says run find name when the list has Andrea, Ben, and Chris, and Ben is what we're looking for. So this is identical to the case we just described where we're looking for Jack, and Jack is in the middle of the list. So that means that when we get to the last element, we're just going to set found index to 0, which is not what we wanted, because the target name Ben is in the list. But when we get to Chris, we're going to be running this else statement since Chris is not equal to Ben. So that means this is false, and the else statement is going to set found index equal to 0. So C is going to show that the code does not work as intended. And then let's check D. So D says find name with Andrea, Chris, Diane as the name list and Ben as the target name. So that means that since Ben is not in the list, we're always just going to say found index equal to 0. So this is going to work as intended as well. So that means C is the correct answer.